friends, it's First Chapter Friday and it's Miss Sarah, and today I'm going to recommend and read Becoming Muhammad Ali. This is by James Patterson. You might have read his middle school series, and Kwame Alexander. If you like other sports books, you might have read his crossover or his undefeated book. So this book is really neat. It's a biographical book and it's in both prose and verse, so you'll have some paragraph form along with a little bit of poetry. So it talks about Muhammad Ali before he becomes Muhammad Ali, as his childhood, and he was born as Cassius Clay, so you get to hear how he became interested in boxing. So the beginning is round 1. I remember everything. You probably would have to. That night was a piece of American history. The Clay family phone was dusky black with a rotary dial, and it sat on a wooden table in the neat as a pin living room of the little house on Grand Avenue in Louisville, Kentucky. Some 20 of us were crammed like sardines into the room, waiting for that phone to ring. Waiting for Cassius to call home. It was a February night in 1958, and I remember it like it was yesterday. My best friend, Cassius, was 300 miles north in Chicago, and that night he was fighting for a championship in the Golden Gloves boxing tournament. Cassius wasn't a professional yet, just an amateur, tall but a little skinny and a lot raw. Only 16 years old, like me. I'm Lucius, by the way. Nice to meet you. You can call me Lucky. All my friends do. Cassius had already won plenty of bouts all over Kentucky, but the Chicago Golden Gloves was the big time. When he won there, and we all know he would, it would be lights out. From now on, people everywhere would know the name Cassius Clay, and so we waited for the phone to ring. I remember that living room was so packed with family, friends, and neighbors that we could hardly move. The smell of roast chicken and sweet potato pie and cheese grits mixed with the smell of paint and turpentine. Mr. Clay, Cassius's dad, who everybody called Cash, was a sign and billboard painter, and he kept his work supplies right there in the house. Mrs. Clay, somebody called out, when that boy of yours gets famous, he ought to buy you a bigger house. Oh, you know he will, she answered. Then she looked right at me. Isn't that right, Lucius? Yes, ma'am, you know it is. Cassius promised you a big house. I remember that Mrs. Clay was too nervous to eat, but she wasn't too nervous to talk about how proud she was. My Cassius did everything early, she was saying to a group of ladies. He crawled early, talked early, and walked on his toes like a dancer. The ladies all laughed, as if he'd heard that story 100 times before, but Miss Kay just couldn't help it. Cassius always told her he was bound to be the greatest, with a capital G, and she believed it with all her heart. So did I. So did everyone in Louisville's West End. Come on, phone, ring. Phone, ring-a-ding-ding. The men and boys around the room, including Cassius's little brother Rudy, looked at one another with big grins and made punching motions with their fists. The big fight should be over by now. Under those bright lights in the middle of that huge Chicago stadium, Cassius would be standing tall in the ring with one hand over his head like always, his opponent next to him with a head bowed down in defeat. Then the phone rang. It was Cassius with news about the fight, and he told it like only Cassius could tell the story. And then it goes to the first verse, which is before the fight. A reporter asked me if I thought I was as good as Joe Louis or Sugar Ray was at my age, and I told him, I don't think. I'm as good. I'm better. Got more flow than Joe, more slay than Ray. I'm sweeter, stronger, and faster. As a matter of fact, I'm so fast, I can't even catch myself. So if you're interested in learning more about Cassius Clay before he was Muhammad Ali, check out this book at the library. It's called Becoming Muhammad Ali, a novel. And if you like any other sports books, come visit us at the library. Have a great Friday, friends.